From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonder's Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome into the Wow Report here on Radio Andy. Hello, hello, hello. It's Tom Campbell, Chief Creative Officer at World of Wonder. I am here this week, as I am every week, with Club Kid turned best-selling author James St. James. Yeah! And if you're watching us on YouTube, you already recognize that Fenton is not with us. He's somewhere, again, halfway around the globe, making a deal, doing things that we can only dream of doing. But we have the most apt replacement, an equal among giants, and that is co-founder Randy Barbado is here to join us in the Wow Report. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you for inviting me.
He's already angry at us.
I mean,
you could have invited him sooner.
I don't even have a frame that's worthy of the Wow Report. But
getting off to a great start.
Yes. Okay. Good. All right. It's been that kind of week, and we're gonna.
I've got 15 minutes, guys. Come on, let's keep it moving.
All right. If you couldn't tell, we are here to count down the top 10 things that made us go wow this week, and let's start right now at number 10.
Number 10.
The undertone of everything that happens anymore is that it's been a shit show of a week politically, and we try not to ignore, but we try to rise above occasionally. And Sunday night's Grammy Awards 2025 were, to me, one of the best award shows I've ever seen, one of the best Grammys I've ever seen. The Grammys tend to be good in general, but this was spectacular. It came at just the right time. Not only did it sort of deal with the fire horribleness in LA and saluting the firefighters and remembering the victims, raising money, it also just was a showcase for incredible talent, which unfortunately in this world is now divided into DEI talent, diversity, equality, inclusion. Alicia Keys said that DEI is not a threat. It is a gift, and we were gifted. I don't know what you guys think. I was just blown away. One performance after another. I'm going to sort of just tick off the ones I liked. Please interrupt with your reactions. Okay, she won a Grammy for a couple of awards. She's not my favorite artist in the world, but Sabrina Carpenter was kind of genius. James, what do you think?
I didn't know that I was going to love her as much as I was. She channeled Goldie Hawn. She channeled old Hollywood. She was doing shtick. Someone said that she was like, it was like seeing someone who was under contract to Louis B. Mayer. Like, she was like an old school performer. Absolutely adorable. I loved her.
And it was great to see the whole audience. It seemed like everybody enjoyed her. And her music is so pop. It is pop, which is what I love about it. And it's great to see such a mixed audience have a fun time enjoying some, good old-fashioned pop.
And this it was just announced that her Short and Sweet album is going to have like a remix album, and the one and only Dolly Parton will be featured on the Please, Please, Please remix.
Oh, that's
I love Dolly.
She has a Dolly-esque quality about her.
Yeah.
Because, and I say this with love, there is no barrier to entry to love Sabrina Carpenter. You know what I'm saying? She's pure pop. Just like take it as it is. And again, she was kind of downplaying her majesty, while artists like Doechii and Chappel Roan blew me away. Doechii, who we were lucky enough to have on Drag Race this year, this current season, I can't help but think, because I'm of the age where all my Facebook friends are like, who are these artists? Who are they? And it's like, I have to think that 90% of the world learned who Doechii was on Sunday night, and they'll never forget. What did you think?
I mean, that was so brilliant of the Grammys to have all the new artists perform. Like, yes, that's one of the things that transformed the show. But her performance was, it was pitch perfect.
And I'm new to this, and James is our fashion guru. He's gonna talk about fashion, but she had the hair tapes where you tape back your face, but she wears them on the outside. Instead of hiding them, she wears them as fashion. So I love Doechii so much.
I thought Chappel, just blew me away. That performance and just the fact that you saw the entire industry belting along with her. It was fantastic.
An anthem to a gay bar that she go danced at Los Angeles.
It's actually based on the Abbey. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Speaking of busting out over, Benson Boone.
Little Benson Boone with that big old booty. I just went bananas. Bananas for Benson Boone's booty. just that little outfit that people were saying he was sort of channeling Harry Styles, which if you're going to channel anybody, Harry is a good person to emulate.
Or Freddie Mercury.
And when he was doing those little flips and his voice was so powerful, I loved him.
I feel like at the very beginning of it, though, J-Lo wanted a bigger part at the beginning. Didn't it feel like there was a moment where she really thought it was going to be all about her, and then he kept going?
She radiates light, so she can't help make it all about her. She steals every shot she's in. The other highlights to me, I'm going to click through them quicker, is like Cynthia Erivo's Fly Me to the Moon performance for Quincy Jones tribute was amazing. Seeing Stevie Wonder is always a highlight. I thought, again, a nod to and recognition, they were raising money all night for the LA fires. I thought the opening with I Love LA with that super group was really beautiful. I have such a soft spot for that song. It came out the same year I came to LA, and that they did a beautiful job.
Well, wait a minute, you haven't gotten to the biggest Tom moment of the night.
Would that be when Lady Gaga? Yes, and Bruno Mars sang California Dreamin'. And you're just reminded, first of all, I said this last one, Bruno Mars he's always been a superstar. He's having a renaissance. He's transcending. He's becoming the most important with his stuff with Rosé and the pink. Anyway, amazing.
And then Lady Gaga, handsome. He's so handsome.
And such a great vocalist. So amazing.
I mean, they would trade back and forth who's going to be soft and who's going to be loud and who's going to go vibrato. They just work together so beautifully.
I also think it's amazing they didn't do the song that they won the Grammy for, which is Die With a Smile. They did this tribute to LA. And my other favorite moment was in the commercial break, which is MasterCard paid for a 3-minute debut of the Lady Gaga's newest single.
Dear God in heaven.
It was like Michael Jackson days all over again, where we tune in and we watch. And Gaga is back with a vengeance. We need Gaga more than ever. There was a lot of political statements, and Gaga, again, I just really think she's so unique because she's such a character. She's so mannered. She always puts on this show, but when she speaks, it's from her heart. She burrows right into your mind, your soul. And she just told, that trans people will not be ignored, that we love you and that we stand with you. And
but didn't that video feel like it was 2010 all over again? It felt like we were it was
in the best way ever. Like, yes. There were many more highlights. I've run out of time. I had such a good time. I think we all did. We were all talking about it all week. The Grammys. Thank you, Grammys. And remember that DEI is not an issue. It's not a problem. It's a gift.
Hey, Tom, I just want to tell you that every time I hear I Love LA, I think of either you or Kris Jenner.
Oh, yes. I love my friends for her 30th birthday. Ooh, we love them. Nice callback. Very important. All right. Now we're ready to move on to number 9.
Number 9.
Of course, Tom is, the eternal cockeyed optimist, and I'm going to put on my cranky pants right now because I want to talk a little bit about the red carpet at the Grammys, where that moment that just, I think, will live in infamy. It was when the two young reporters from the AP were interviewing Babyface, and they had him on the red carpet, and one of them asked sort of an intricate question, and he started to answer, and he got one sentence into it, and the other one went, Chappel Roan! Oh my God, it's Chappel Roan! And totally the most inappropriate, rudest, nastiest reporting moment I've ever witnessed in my life. My jaw dropped, and his jaw dropped, and he said, oh, you want to interview them? And he dropped his microphone and walked off. And the backlash was swift. They were castigated online on X and on Instagram and on Facebook. Oh, and immediately the AP deleted it to make it look like that didn't happen. But everyone had already seen it, immediately when 3 billion people saw it. And then the next day, the AP put out they did 3 billion. And then the next day, the AP put out an apology that was very wishy-washy. And they said, I quote, "We are deeply sorry for cutting our interview short with Babyface," which they didn't cut it short. They totally interrupted him. And then the girl put out an apology, and that was even more half-assed. And she said something along the lines of, yeah, it was Chappel Roan. What was I supposed to do? Was basically what she said. And she does talk like a 30s showgirl.
Or Madonna in that movie.
Yeah. It reminded me of social climbers that I know, and maybe I used to be like in the olden days, where you'd be talking to someone at a party and you're scanning the room for someone more A-list as you're talking to them. And it's just the rudest possible thing you can do. So
it is really rude, but isn't that what the red carpet is?
Well, the red carpet is a brutal Hunger Games like scenario in which, you know, it is soul sucking. And I have been on that, the Babyface end of it many times, where you're shoved aside for someone more famous. I could tell you who that drag queen was that I was pushed aside for, but I'm not going to be mentioned.
Commercial break. I agree with Randy a little bit. I mean, it was totally rude, total inexperience, I think, on the reporter's part, but it is. You get caught up. It's like last call at a bar. You're just desperate. You're just looking. You're looking. Like who am I going to talk to next? Who am I going to? Anyway,
I know, and I understand. You know, Chappel is huge, but his Babyface was a legend.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Any other fashion thoughts from the red carpet, James, or should we move on?
I mean, I loved it when Chappel Roan changed into her little conical hat.
How about Jaden Smith's house hat?
I did have a comment about that went a little viral on X, where I said that I try so hard to be pro Jaden and try so hard to support him in everything he does, but he just seems like a homeschooled child who was told he's fabulous too many times, and he just is running with it. So
I call him Jaden Dior Smith because he's wearing a hat kind of like Blair very drag queen, I thought. Blair St. Clair wore a house on her head.
Oh, and I think he was referencing a Willem Dafoe picture that was sort of famous.
Well, it also reminded me of Joella with the mattress on her face with the little hole. I saw some memes of that online.
And Doll.
I was just going to say, you guys remember on Hollywood Boulevard about 10 years ago, there was a guy, Dollhouse Head, who used to walk up and down the street, and he was about affordable housing for people, which is what I think Jaden was trying to do as well.
Yeah, sure. All right, James, thanks for your insights. We are ready to move down to number 8.
Number 8.
I like playing games. And, you know, you guys know I like to play the slots in Vegas, but it's really become, I think, more important in my life. You know, just last week, New York Times introduced Strands. I know a bunch of us do Wordle. I don't enjoy Strands so much. And then my kids, I try and lure my kids into playing as many games as possible. Blackjack, poker, Monopoly, anything that's not digital. You know, they're obsessed with Roblox. But I started thinking about games in relationship to the world we're living in right now. Number one, gaming is great business. There's talk about how the digital games and the New York Times digital version help save the New York Times. Like, people are truly engaged in it. But also I wondered, my kids are a little bit addicted to Roblox. So, you know, I've done reading a lot about the impact of social media and gaming on kids. And I was surprised to discover that there are some studies that suggest that games and gaming can be good for your mental health. As long as you do it, not too much of it, really helps relax people. There are these games, they're called cozy games in the gaming industry that are, you know, you go into a little community and you meet people and you go to the bakery. It's not just the cozy games. Playing games in general can help relax you. And I think in the world we're living in now, I'm just trying to think of all the things to help to pull me away from the cycle that is bringing me and everyone else down. And so I suggest play a game. Play a game.
I imagine, you know, because my mother was a big believer in, you know, crossword puzzles and Sudoku and all that stuff like that. And that, like you said, it relaxed her, but it also kept her mind, you know, it keeps your mind moving and everything. And it engages you in the world. Like you said, these online games engage you in the world in a way that isn't doom scrolling. It's not, you're doing something that's sort of like upbeat. But you're still engaged.
I don't know what the name of this study was, but like last week or the week before, there was a Japanese study that said a few hours of gaming a day can improve your mental health. And by the way, also, did you know the gaming industry is bigger than the music industry and the television and film industry combined.
Oh my God.
What are we doing here, Randy? What are we doing?
I don't know. Let's play a game.
But Randy, I don't even know what Roblox is. What is this Roblox?
It's a game where you go into these different worlds. There are all these different games. It is huge. It's not just the game, it's the music. Like my kids are introduced to music from it, and there's all this Roblox music, and you basically kill people because there are weapons, but you're wearing fabulous outfits and you run around killing people.
I'm pretty sure Brady, my nephew, plays Roblox. I'm pretty
I
sure.
think I could get into that.
I think
And
every
do you have
kid
to buy
does.
your Roblox, or can you just? Is it an app? What is it?
Yeah, it's a gaming app. Yeah.
Through Apple or something, because there was some Brady had to have a Apple thing in order to, I don't know what it is.
Connect.
I just have to say,
I know. I see Blake's face. He's about to call me old lady or something. He's about to say something nasty.
I didn't have to.
I did it myself.
I hate to call out my mom, but talking about the brain teasers, I tease her all the time. And for Christmas, she loves the killing channels, what we call it, all the murder shows.
oh yeah.
So I got her a brain teaser book full of all these brain teasers, but it's like murder.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Available at Barnes and Noble.
That sounds great for your mental health. That sounds great.
Exactly.
If Randy didn't sign my paychecks, so to speak, I would speak more freely about how much time I spend doing puzzles, because it fills your time. I do Wordle, which quickly I do the spelling bee, I do strands, I do connections, I do that word box, that thing where you like the things. I do not do Sudoku. I can never do Sudoku. I can't do Sudoku. Don't make me do Sudoku.
You do the mini crossword and try and do it in under a minute?
I do the mini crossword as fast as I can. Sometimes I'm doing it in bed with one hand, so I give myself a break because it is some full of typos. I do the real crossword puzzle every day. I am not afraid from Thursday on to check my work kind of, button, but I'm learning stuff. There's words I know. And then I have signed up because I disconnected from LA Times and Washington Post, but I got the Apple News, and there's a whole other set of games. When I run out, I can do more.
Do you ever read any of the Wordle analysis?
I have not, but I know it exists. I know because once in a while you're like, only 3% of Americans did as well as I did today.
No, I hate when they give you an analysis and you've gotten it in 2 or 3, and it's like skill 20%, luck 85.
Yes, Randy's a little competitive. If you couldn't pick that up, listener. All right, we're about to go to a little break. Before we do, Blake, what do you have for us?
Well, I want to remind everyone to tune into a brand new episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 17 this Friday on MTV. This next episode is the Let's Get Seasickening Ball with Hunter Schafer and La Roach.
Yeah, it's really, really good. It was just previewed. And I have to also say that Untucked, the show after the show, is getting rave reviews. Vulture, which was loving the season, gave last week's episode 4 stars based on Untucked alone. So if you're watching Drag Race and you're not watching Untucked, you're only getting half the story.
I think I saw a preview of what Hunter was wearing or something, and she's just the most beautiful woman on the
gorgeous planet. Queens are so excited, and La Roach is such a fun.
La Roach is so funny. Yeah, I can't wait for this.
Yeah. So with that, do we have a little question before the break?
Yes, we do. I was going to ask something else, but Randy inspired me to ask. What is everyone's favorite board game from when they were a child?
I'm sorry. We think, I don't know if there's not a right answer on this one. This is more of an essay. So that's
it's not a pop trivia question.
Yeah, we can all win. All right. Stay tuned. The answer to that question and more as we continue to count down the top 10 things that made us go wow here on the Wow Report and Radio Andy. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. It's Tom Campbell, Randy Barbado, James St. James, and Blake Jacobs. And we are counting down the top 10 things this week that made us go wow. But first, Blake asked us a little nostalgia question.
Yeah, I wanted to know, what is your favorite board game from when you were a kid? James, what's yours?
Well, I had 3 that I can think of right off the bat. Sorry. I loved Sorry. I loved Clue. God, we played Clue all the time. And do you remember Masterpiece?
Yes, I was just gonna say Masterpiece.
Oh, God, that's how I learned my art history.
I know nothing. It was not in the Masterpiece box. I don't know. Masterpiece. It was like a postcard of a famous painting, and then you would clip a money value to it, and one would be counterfeit, and you would trade them like you were trading cards. And then at the end of the game, you would count up, and it would be like, I have $3 million, and I have a counterfeit to forfeit. And
do you know if it still exists?
It must.
I don't, but I remember even not playing the game and just sitting and playing with the cards and just looking at the cards for hours and hours and hours. Anyway, those are my 3.
Randy, what's yours?
Risk.
Oh, wow.
I've never played that one.
You know, my brother, sister, and I are all very well educated. Whatever. We refused to do Risk because the instruction book was too thick. We just we got it one Christmas. It just never got opened.
It's a real time investment. You gotta, it's a good weekend game.
But it also gets a little contentious, doesn't it? Yeah. It brings out some warrior feelings in you.
It's very Trumpian.
Yeah, very manifest destiny.
I'm going to say my favorite. I had many, but I'm remembering the Game of Life came immediately because it had a fun spinner. It had mountains and things. It had cars, obsessed with cars, and you would you go through your whole life and you would get children, and if you were really lucky, you'd have to stack your children like cordwood. Because there'd be so many.
What was the one that had the bubble that you pressed and it had the dice in the bubble?
Trouble.
There you go. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's so funny because I'm playing so many of these games with the kids.
Do your kids play Risk?
They don't play Risk yet, but
not yet.
Trouble,
like, what was your favorite card game?
Mine was called Hotels, and it was like Monopoly, where you went around and you bought properties, but you added onto your property. So you'd have the main hotel and then you'd add annexes. And it doesn't exist anymore. You can still find it. It's really expensive, but I think there's a knockoff version called Hotel Tycoon.
I love it. So there we have it. All right, now let's continue the countdown with number 7.
Number 7.
On Friday night, I've told some of you, but we haven't talked about it in depth. I saw the Liza, a truly terrific, absolutely true story. The documentary, which I don't know if it has distribution yet. Randy said I don't think it does, but it's getting some previews. The director was there, Bruce David Klein. I saw it at the Laemmle Royale on Santa Monica in the West Side. Really successful, amazing documentary built around an interview with Liza, or several interviews with Liza, where she's seated wearing a black turtleneck, much like I am. And it starts with her saying, raise the camera. And we've experienced with other people before, Randy, where camera people are always like, it's up high enough. She's like, no, a little bit higher. And so they raise the camera and they all like patronize, like, it's an inch higher. Is that better? She's like, it's much better. And she goes, I wish there was a bright light just shining right here on my face. We heard that so often in our line of work, don't we? But she's right, by the way, and she looked amazing. She has her wits about her. And it kind of starts with Judy Garland's death, and it kind of propelled Liza into life on her own, and it really focuses on the decade of the 70s, that 10 years. It talks about other stuff. It puts things in context. It's not chronological. And I guess one of the inspirations for doing the documentary was they had found all of this never before seen footage of Liza on tour doing Liza with a Z, like in Europe or something. So that's peppered throughout. But another device that I thought was so brilliant, it was like little mini docs within the documentary, was, Liza in her humility is always like, oh, so-and-so discovered me, so-and-so made me, they invented me. And so they went through her mentors, who included Kay Thompson, Think Pink, you know what I'm saying? And the writer of the Eloise book. Yes. And she was a dear friend she helped Judy. She was sort of like a vocal coach and arranger and performer. And she helped Judy become Judy. And when Judy died, she was living in Paris. She kind of took care of Liza and was with her. And they have footage of them in the car and talking. Again, Liza's her own person, but you just see the influence of the people around her. Kay Thompson helped shape her. And of course, there's Kander and Ebb. Kander's still alive. But Fred Ebb is Liza Minnelli. Fred Ebb was the gay little boy who wrote all of her patter. He wrote a truly terrific, absolutely true story, which was like the way she introduced Ring Dem Bells. And they had that symbiotic relationship. And so she got a lot from him. Bob Fosse, of course, because of the dancing, which is interesting. Halston, again, the mind starts to explode. Halston, because, you know, and how he did like Liza with a Z and the little red dress. And basically in one performance in one evening defined the Liza Minnelli look, which is like live forever and ever. And then also, which I didn't realize, French singer Charles Aznavour. And she was in a relationship with him, but they show him and the way he gesticulates, and he acted songs. And Liza was like that, because they show her sort of in the 60s on the Ed Sullivan show, and she was cute and she was young and always talented, but she was trying to kind of find her own thing. And they do talk about her husbands and things, but they really tell it on Liza's terms. And really, really the message is, which I'd never thought about, which is so stupid and selfish of me, but like how Liza really managed against all odds to escape her mother's shadow, both her mother's talent and her mother's tragedy. I mean, Liza is here. She's here to tell her story. She's lived high and low and medium and wavy. But remember the interviewer, Barbara Hauer? She was sort of Southern from the 70s. You'd know her if you saw her. And she's like, they show lots of interviews, but they show her and going, you know, Liza, if like your mother, you could go down the yellow brick road and go to the Wizard of Oz and ask him to make any wish come true, what would it be? And Liza says that no one would ask me another question about my mother. And rightly so. I used to always think there was a Sally Jesse Raphael years ago where she did the same thing, kind of like your mother, an alcoholic, an addict. You grew up with no security, leaving hotels in the middle of the night. What was that like? And Liza would be like, Mama made me laugh. You know, it's like, I think good therapy and recovery has made Liza deal with her mother on her own private terms, but she tends to, you know, whatever, project the good stuff about her mom. So
is it all like about her on stage, or is there her at Studio 54 with Halston and Andy? And
they talk about all of that stuff, you know, and some of it's, you know, and the other big Michael Feinstein, there's many, and Chita Rivera, there's a lot of people, and Michael Feinstein is sort of the historian of that whole period. Just of that period of show business and that ilk of performer. And there's some stuff she won't talk about. She's like, there were no drugs in Studio 54. They come to Michael Feinstein, like, she tends to want to not talk about that and remember this. But she will talk about her recovery and her own, you know, alcoholism and her drug use, you know, but she just does, that's not Studio 54. That's not how she remembers Studio 54. And she was one of the first performers when it wasn't, you know, regular to talk about their disease and talk about their addiction. So it really,
I guess another one of her mentors would have been
Betty Ford.
Yeah.
All that. And she talks about Betty. My friend Greg went with me. He says it was sort of like a scrapbook. It wasn't really deep, but like I thought it was deep, and it gave me insights into her and her life and her talent that I hadn't really thought before. So if you get a chance to see Liza, truly terrific, absolutely true story, wherever it may be playing or streaming, it's in LA in selective theaters. Look her up. We're moving on to number 6.
Number 6.
I'm going to bring it down again. I'm so sorry. I'm so
I
sorry.
try.
Today, I am reading the worst book I've ever read in my life. It's just terrible. I was on a plane recently, and the woman next to me started on page 1, and by the time the plane landed, she had finished the entire book. And as she walked off, she handed it to me. She said, "You take it. I don't want it." And it was Stephen King's Holly. Okay, and I haven't read a Stephen King book, I don't think, in 30 years. It's been a long, long time. And the reason why is because, God, he's a horrible writer. Oh my God. It's just terrible. It's okay. Just very quickly, in a nutshell, in the first 5 pages, I'm not giving anything away. This jogger is jogging through a small town in Maine. Surprise, surprise. And he gets kidnapped by this elderly couple, this 80-year-old couple.
It sounds great.
These sweet 80-year-olds, and they put them in a cage in a dungeon in their basement.
I love it.
They torture him and end up eating him.
I'm in.
When does Jessica Fletcher get called from Cabot Bay?
Well, Holly is the name of the detective who was called in to find another girl who goes missing. So, but basically, you have the entire twist and turn happening in the first 5 pages, and then where do you go from there? You know everything that's going to happen. So the whole rest of the book is they're trying to find this woman who you know is being eaten in a cage by this old
I
lady.
want to spend time with the old lady and the man. Like, I see it as, it feels like a sitcom to me.
Well,
It's a love
they are
story.
very
Married couple?
sitcom-y. They are written very humorous. Oh, George, why,
Maybe
they're
that
very,
leg.
yeah, gosh darn it, they're very old, like cranky old people. They're like me. They're very like me, I guess. The interesting thing about it online, because I was doing a lot of reviews and comments and things like that on social media, and people hate this book for two reasons. It takes place from 2020 to 2022 during COVID, during the lockdown, and there's lots of mentions of masks and social distancing and the vaccine, and everyone, all the Trumpers hate Stephen King. Oh, the masks didn't work, and the vaccine kills people. And there's some there's some Trump people in characters who are, it's post-Trump, and so people are talking about Trump in the book. How dare they talk about Trump like that? How about damn Fauci, ouchie? Everyone. They're just, people are being cranky about the COVID wasn't real. Is basically what I'm. So that's Holly by Stephen King. Buy it or don't.
Thanks for sharing that. I do like the basic log line of people.
I like Randy's suggestion that it should be a sitcom every week. New body in the basement.
Yes. Think of the guest stars you could get. It's really
John Lithgow and Kathy Bates. Yes.
Guess who's coming to dinner? Guess who's running to dinner?
There you go.
All right, done.
John,
right.
Let's take it out.
As I take that out, Randy, what do we have at number 5?
Number 5.
I know we don't want to talk about politics. You guys know I'm obsessed with politics. So I'm truly, truly obsessed. And I've been trying to be healthy about how to deal with things. I'm not disengaging. I did not cancel my New York Times or Washington Post. I'm still getting my news. But I thought what might be useful is just to share what my strategy has been, is just to pay attention and looking for either the new voices or the important voices, I think, from our team. And then when I'm starting to make this list, it isn't comprehensive by any means. I'm going to share some of the names, and I'm just paying more attention to those people. I'm curating and finding those people. So for me, some of the voices that are, many of them are old, but just are useful to me right now. Chris Murphy, senator from Connecticut.
Yes.
Bernie Sanders, he doesn't stop. He's important. I'm sorry.
I agree.
AOC, she's rising to the occasion. Pete Buttigieg, he's going to run for Senate, and he lands it. Jamie Raskin lands it. And
what about the Crockett woman? I love her.
Jasmine Crockett.
God, I love her.
She's great. Tim Miller from the Bulwark. Do you know Tim Miller? He always wears pearl necklace, and he's really good. Ursa Klein, I'm sorry. By the way, the Drudge Report. Go ahead.
He's not a Trumper. He's not a Trumper.
He's engaged in his career. Anyway, so
what do you think about? What do you think of that Ossoff? I like that Ossoff from Tennessee or Kentucky. Yes, I love him. I'm wondering about Adam Kinzinger's role in the Democratic Party. I don't mind Adam Kinzinger.
Yeah, I like him very much. I feel like our party is kind of lost. I cringe watching Chuck Schumer. I don't want to be negative, but like people need to move aside, and we need to be listening to the voices.
Does Gretchen Whitmer have a place? Is she rising?
Maybe. A lot of people love her, and
here's what my 2 cents on this, Randy. Excellent work this week, Randy. Last week, one of the survival techniques was to find sort of a person to curate your news, to not be overwhelmed. And one of the ways to do it was to do exactly what you're doing. Pick the voices you want to listen to. And defensively, I want to say, I haven't blocked out the media. I canceled the Washington Post and LA Times, which I might bring back, but when they didn't make an endorsement.
Yes, I understand that.
I was trying to make the statement. I am focused on the New York Times, and I don't watch stuff on TV if I can possibly help it. And I do find that the Apple News so far is a good way to get information as well. And then I'm always on Deadline because I want to just read the comments in Deadline. Okay.
You get into this wormhole of this is really bad. The coup is happening right now. And you work yourself up versus let me see what the different pieces are. What can I do? Are there things I can do? And this is one of the things that is helping me.
I've noticed, and I've seen sort of other people back me up on this, that Deadline and Hollywood Reporter have been doing some really amazing reporting that the mainstream, that other, are not touching, that they've been really sort of on it. And I've been enjoying them lately.
They've been kind of unafraid, and I like it very much. All right. We have reached time to take a little break. Before we go, Blake, do you have anything to say?
I always have something to say.
Yes, you do.
RuPaul's Drag Race Live in Vegas has a new lineup of queens. Head over to Vegas and you can see Asia O'Hara, Ginger Minge, Jada Essence Hall, Morphine Love Dion, Plain Jane, and Kylie Sonique Love on the Flamingo stage. Yeah.
It started right before the COVID, and it's still going strong. And I've seen it like 5 times, and it's different every time. So much fun. Anyway.
Yeah. Get your tickets at RuPaul'sDragRaceLive.com. And I also have a question for you guys. The Grammys we talked about for this past weekend, and Not Like Us won big. Kendrick Lamar, who's also going to be at the Super Bowl. Not Like Us became the first diss track to win a Grammy in over 30 years. This rapper won Best Rap Performance in 1992 with the song that went after rapper Kool Moe Dee. Do y'all remember who it was?
Wow. The answer to that question and so much more when we return. You're listening to the Wow Report on radio.
And Not Like Us.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
We are back to the Wow Report. It's Tom, Randy, James, and Blake. And we are counting down the top 10 things that made us go, wow. And before we continue with the countdown, Blake asked us a little trivia question before the break.
Yes, Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us became the first diss track to win a Grammy in over 30 years. But this rapper won Best Rap Performance in 1992 with a song that went after Kool Moe Dee. Who was it?
Who would hate Kool Moe Dee?
I think it was Vanilla Ice Baby.
No, because that was 1991, and I don't think it won any Grammys.
It's a Queen Latifah song.
Good guess. Randy, any guesses?
No guesses, sorry.
It's Mama Said Knock You Out, LL Cool J.
Oh, there you go, of course.
You know the song, enjoy a great deal. Did not know it was a diss rap. Okay, there you go. All right, with that, we move on now in the countdown to number 4.
Number 4.
I saw a movie this weekend that on Prime that I kind of like rolled my eyes at because there are ads all over town and I thought I was going to hate it. It is You're Cordially Invited. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Reese Witherspoon and Will Ferrell.
Yeah.
Big names on a streaming movie.
And the premise just seems cheesy. They get overbooked at a wedding venue, so they have to share the wedding venue. And it's like, how could that ever happen? Whatever. But Will Ferrell is a helicopter dad to a Gen X daughter bride. And her friends are really funny in their Gen X way. And Reese Witherspoon is a reality television producer whose sister is getting married. And side note, there are 2 fake reality shows in this movie. One is like a ripoff of The Masked Singer. The second one is called Is It Dead?
Is it dead?
Is It Dead? Sort of. It's like a ripoff of Is It Cake, I guess. But it's Is It Dead? And there's like a dead raccoon in there. And you're like, okay, I'd like to use my Get Closer. So I think we should do that.
That's so good.
Hijinks ensued. You can probably tell it, but it was really fun.
My dear friend Greg, who you've all met and all know, Greg is a man about town. He's seen a lot. He's done it all. He's seen it and done it all. He said, I saw that movie with Reese Witherspoon and Will Ferrell, and I had to turn it off. He goes, they were potty mouths. He goes, they were just dropping F-bombs all around. Now, Greg, who may be listening, he's been spending time in Alabama at home with his parents, taking care of his parents. I think they're rubbing off on him.
I think so, because I didn't notice that at all, but maybe. I've been dropping a lot of
back and
F-bombs
forth
lately.
with Will
So.
Ferrell movies. Sometimes I
Yeah.
enjoy him, sometimes I don't. But I always love Reese. So I guess do I need to watch it?
Yeah, I mean you'll enjoy it.
It was like my guilty confession that I enjoyed the Jamie Foxx, Cameron Diaz movie. It's not a new genre, but it is this generation's, we don't have movie of the weeks. We have like high energy, high octane, big build, stupid genre movies. And why not? Why not? Another escape, another way to survive.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
I'd say see it if you're bored,
right.
Why not?
Well, thank you, Blake. That brings us in the countdown to number 3.
Number 3.
I started watching that new series Paradise on Hulu, and I am loving it.
Don't know anything about it. About it.
It just started, and it stars James Marsden, who I love. I just think he's the handsomest man on the planet, and as Sterling K. Brown. And James Marsden is the president, and he's sort of an asshole. Not really. He's sort of a goofball. He just doesn't take anything seriously. And Sterling K. Brown takes everything very seriously. And he's, assigned to protect him. And right off the bat, there's a murder that Sterling K. Brown has to sort of insert himself into. It's all told sort of like Lost in flashbacks and back and forth and back and forth. And you sort of like don't know really what's going on, but then you're sort of figuring it out as you think you're figuring it out. All of a sudden, at the very end of the pilot episode, there's a huge twist. And the whole show is just twisted, thrown into like everything you thought is wrong. And it's suddenly, all of a sudden, it's not a murder mystery anymore. It's a science fiction show. And like, you're like, what is going on? And then now there's 7 episodes out, so you can binge it. But he's very good. And Sterling K. Brown is hysterical and very good. And he hates him. Sterling K. Brown hates the guy that he's the president that he's supposed to be watching. So there's sort of this weird dynamic.
Is this a little bit like President J.D. Vance?
You can tell that he's probably a Republican because he's sort of like, but he's drinking a lot, and he's sort of an asshole. He's just an asshole. But like I said, it's worth watching because, like I said, every episode there's the twist in it. Like we've got like a Game of Thrones. Like you never know who's going to live or die, and what's really happening is not what you think is happening. So
that's Paradise, now streaming on Hulu. Let's move on now to number 2.
Number 2.
I saw another movie, and this movie is the best one of 2025. I kind of wish Fenton was here because I feel like it's right up his alley. There's an AI element to it. It's called Companion. It's in theaters. It's Sophie Thatcher, who is probably my new favorite actress. She's a new Scream Queen. You might know her from Yellow Jackets, where she played the younger Juliette Lewis, or the movie Heretic that I talked about not long ago with Hugh Grant. And then it's got Jack Quaid in it, who is Dennis Quaid's son.
Jack Quaid, does he work as a movie star because he's so good on TV? Does he transfer to the big screen?
Yeah, and he's got another big movie coming out where he doesn't feel pain.
Right, yeah.
I don't know what that movie
James,
is.
according to Blake, this is the best movie of the year. Pay attention.
I'm so sorry.
Well, it's James. It also stars Lucas Gage and Harvey Guillen and Rupert Friend and Megan Surrey. It starts with Sophie and Jack meeting each other at a grocery store, and they immediately fall in love. It was love at first sight. And a little while later, they're invited to an isolated lake house to meet their friends, gay couple Harvey and Lucas. And Megan, who's dating a rich Russian whose lake house they're all at. The first night it's all good, and then something happens the next morning, and the twists start happening, and it's really good, and I don't want to spoil it. So
what was the AI element?
Well, I don't want to tell you because it'll spoil it. I'll tell you later. But
It's so funny because I saw that poster this week. I went to the movies this weekend and saw that poster. And initially it seemed like you have to look at it twice because her eyes are all faded out. Like
exactly.
It looks like it looks just like a lovely, like what's The Notebook? It looked like an ad for a movie like The Notebook.
With the font. The font makes it look that way too. Yeah, but the eyes tell a lot, James. So
he picks up an AI robot at the grocery store. There, I spoiled it for everyone.
Great. I really wanted to see it too.
I think you really should see it. It's really, really good.
And you left feeling how? Which way? Were you scared? Were you happy? Were you what was the takeaway feeling you'll remember this movie with?
I mean, AI is scary, so of course I was thinking that a little bit, but it was a fun movie. I didn't think too much into that.
Randy, what did you see?
I was gonna say. Meanwhile, I was watching Musafa. I keep saying it wrong. I cried. I had both of the boys on each side of me. It really moved me.
It's supposed to be really good, and yet when you first saw the Billboard stuff, I'm like, this is a movie we do not need. This is just like a third, fifth, 19th version, and yet I hear it's really good.
Another movie that I thought the same about, but I've heard is really, really good, is The Wild Robot.
Oh, I've heard that's amazing. Also, Paddington 3 is another one that you're like, eh.
I can't wait. They're going to be in Peru. Are you kidding?
Yes. Well, Paddington 2 apparently was the best movie of all time.
And what's her name is a nun with a guitar. I'll go see any movie that has a nun with a guitar.
Can I start with 2 or 3, or do I need to see 1, James?
No, apparently you start with 2. 2 is probably, you don't need to see 1. He's a bear that talks. That's all you need to know.
Okay.
All right.
I've seen Ted, so.
And I'm going to see Wicked this week for the 5th time. This time with my straight personal trainer. I can't wait. That's how I get through.
Doesn't it start streaming this week too?
I want to be in the theater. I want it the biggest screen possible until I can't see it on the screen anymore. All right. That's a movie roundup for the ages. We are going to take our last break. When we come back, we're going to reveal the number one thing this week that made us go, wow. Don't go anywhere. You're watching and listening to The Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back. You are listening to The Wow Report here on Radio Andy. I'm Tom Campbell here with Randy Barbado, James St. James, Blake Jacobs has been contributing a great deal this week. Fenton is away, but we'll be back. Come back, Fenton, come soon. But the time has come. The number one thing this week that made us go, wow. James St. James?
Number 1.
There was a moment that happened on the red carpet with Kanye and Bianca Censori, his wife, where they walked the red carpet and then she was wearing a fur coat and she dropped it and she was nude and people were horrified and, they quickly left. They didn't even go they weren't invited, apparently. They crashed the red carpet to do this little stunt. And she has a tendency to do this and you don't know whether he's sort of, he's pulling the strings or whether she gets off on it. Was it a sort of sex game that they play? What is it? And the weird thing is that I have a friend, a great friend of mine who has a tendency to be naked on the red carpet all the time. Trans superstar Amanda Lepore, who every party, every red carpet, every time she gets on stage, she's naked. And she has sort of a cheeky humor about it, and she's very playful about it, and she loves her body. She says, I have the most expensive body on the planet. I am going to show it off. And there's sort of like a joy in when you see her naked running around parties and things like that. But I don't get that from Bianca. I just wondered if you have any thoughts about this. Do you think it's a sex game? Do you think he's being weird and manipulative? What do you think is going on?
I have just 2 quick comments, very short. One is I don't really care. And I thought the actual reveal was really bad and awkward. And she doesn't have very much, she didn't even know how to drop the fur coat. And 2, completely unrelated, but much more memorable and important to me moment at the Grammy that I forgot to mention was Kendrick Lamar bowing to Diana Ross. I just had to mention that.
Yes.
Thank you.
In fact, that's funny, Tom. I would have thought that would have been in your top moment because
I was overwhelmed. There was so much goodness. I was overwhelmed.
There was that great moment where she's very serious and she's talking about, being in darkness and stuff. And then she does the hair flip that was just with her nails. Oh, she's so good. And it was very sweet to see Kendrick say, I was starstruck by that. Because Kendrick really seems to me like a good guy. He really just, he's talented. He seems like it, and he always brings the goods. So that was a great moment. You're right, Randy.
But the naked on the red carpet gate, I mean, we live in a world of images and a world of and the image is startling, not because it's naked, but it feels like a vibe, like she's I don't know the circumstances, but it feels like she's not full agency of what she's doing. And that even him just standing, if she was there alone in some weird way, it would be more dynamic and more powerful than being next to him.
He took off his clothes, but he's always fully clothed. It just feels like there's a weird unequal power dynamic happening there. I don't know.
Well, worthy for
and
sure.
We don't know. So,
well, thank you all for joining us this week. Hang in there. Don't be overwhelmed. And until we see you again, go out and do something that makes the world go wow.
Thank you very much, Randy, for joining us.
Hey, you guys, thanks for inviting me.
Come back
always.